everyone, and welcome to the CCW Speaker Spotlight Series. I'm Kendra Cooper, writer and editor for CCW Digital, and your host for today. Going to the dentist, visiting the DMV, and flying long haul. These experiences are typically perceived as unpleasant. However, at the Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, there's a dedicated team of CX experts who monitor passenger flows and other data and swoop in with solutions whenever there's a problem, like a long queue, or a flight delay, or a dirty bathroom. Today, I'm speaking with Julio Badin. He's the Senior Vice President of CX at DFW, and he's going to be presenting at the CCW Executive Exchange in Miami this March.
So Julio, do you want to just start by telling me about your day-to-day role at Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport and what you're working on right now?
Sure. I have an interesting role because it has both components of the operation. So I have a team that focuses on the day-to-day oversight of the terminals. And in that oversight, that also includes managing our contracts with our custodial vendors directly. We have an ambassador program, which is a lot of volunteers who provide information and services to our customers, as well as other oversight of just the general operation of the terminal. And then I have another piece of the work that I do is really around shaping the future. It's looking at analytics, it's using consumer insights, it's working with the other executives and leaders in the organization, as well as employees, to really drive customer experience across all the things that we do and how we do them, as well as how do we provide, travel transformed, which is our vision. How do we provide that going forward in this evolving environment and this growing industry, which continues to grow at a record pace?
Yeah, and it sounds like a lot of the initiatives that you've rolled out in the past have had to do a lot with boots on the ground, people providing human assistance and jumping in when there is a need. But you mentioned that you're working on analytics and consumer insights as well. Can you elaborate on what that would look like?
Yeah, absolutely. So from a consumer insights perspective, we do understand the different segments of the customer, whether they're more business-focused travelers or more leisure, and we're able to take that information to help, because as you well know, depending on what kind of customer is, they have certain needs, and so we leverage that. Our concessions team does a great job of leveraging that and putting the right types of concessions that really appeal to a wide variety, but also appeal to the type of customer that normally comes through our airport here at DFW. From an analytics standpoint, we use a lot of the analytics to help those people out in the terminal with an understanding of what they're facing. So, for example, we have employees called ACEs, or Airport Customer Experience Specialists, and they use what we call a playlist, which is it's on an iPad. We've actually, over the last few months, have actually automated it, and it tells them some things that our analytics have found for us. So, for example, if we know that there's going to be a spike in wait times due to the amount of planes that are coming in one area, the ACE will know to go to that checkpoint to help with line movement and to help with information and really try to improve that experience for the customer in real time. And there are other things that are on the playlist that come in based on the analytics that we do. In addition to that, the leaders and the Experience Hub, which is, think of it as an operating center for customer experience, can also send information and update the playlist with new things as they're seeing things unfold during the day.
Yeah, that's really interesting, because I heard that the playlist originally started as a spreadsheet, right? Like an Excel spreadsheet, and it sounds like it's come a long way.
It has, yeah. A lot of the stuff we did was very grassroots, and we've now, since we've proven some of these concepts, have now been able to, build more functionality into these, and a little bit more elegant user face, so that it's easier for the in this case, the employee.
Yeah, is it still a spreadsheet, or does it look different now?
No, it's actually built. It's an actual app now that has been built in and can be accessed directly from their iPad.
Oh, okay. Yeah, also on that note, you mentioned at a recent CMO event that you're trying to shift the culture of your team from a focus on service to a focus on experience. What does that mean for an airport?
It's interesting. I continue to evolve my thinking on that. And I think when I first got here, I was really impressed with the service, the way people think about service, our employees, the ambassadors, all the people who work here, the airlines, everybody is focused on service. But what does that mean when you think about elevating the entire travel journey, especially as it relates to a customer who's coming in with their own storyline? And so that becomes much more of a conversation about experience. But as I continue to think about, the way to really reach our customers on their terms, the focus is really on the customer, and the experience sort of comes from that focus. And the better you understand your customer, the more that you focus on them as the starting point, the more that you'll be able to delight them with the experiences that they're looking for, as opposed to just assuming that an experience is okay.
Yeah, but also at an airport, as you know, there are countless touch points that each individual passenger goes through, from parking to check-in to security to food, waiting at the gate. So in that sense, how do you architect a good customer journey when there are so many touch points, that some of which you have little control over?
That's a great question. And I will tell you that we, over the last year, we've partnered with some great ethnographers and to really come up with a great understanding of the travel journey, which includes all the pieces, all the touch points that you're talking about in the airport. There are, from an end-to-end customer journey, we've identified 42 different steps that a customer, if they were starting from home and then all the way back to their home, there's 42 steps with over 200, we call it, I think, over 200 touch points. And so every one of those touch points have an opportunity for either greatness or for pain and stress. And so through that, what we've really worked on are what are those ones that cause the most challenge, and we try to address those head on. But then understanding all of them help us understand a better way of being able to deliver directly to the customer. So understanding that the checkpoint, for example, that causes a lot of stress. It's also a very important safety feature that an airport needs to have. But how do you get at that experience to help really reduce the stress associated with it? And so we have a better understanding of the needs and the challenges that that a customer has during that particular point in time, and we are actually now trying to address those needs and at least help them with some things that they can help manage through that particular function a little bit easier and reduce their stress level.
Yeah, definitely. And just curious, from your personal experience traveling, are there any pain points that stand out to you that you wish, perhaps from visiting other airports, that you wish had been worked out better?
Well, I think that in general, there's a lot of things that we can do better. There's a lot of things that we do well. I'll stay on the I'll stay on the security checkpoint. No one's going to argue that security and safety isn't the most important thing for our customers. But at the same time, how do you do that in a way that can meet the needs of both safety and security, but also meet the needs of the customer in terms of providing them with an experience that's acceptable? And so, for example, we have been partnering. We have a wonderful Transportation Security Administration team here, and we have been partnering with them, and we put in new wait time technology so that the customers can actually see the wait time as they're going to the airport through our app, or they can see the wait time in front of the checkpoints and they can make decisions to best accommodate their needs. And so that's an example of something that we, even though it's something that we need to have, we're trying to figure out ways to improve that. We're also partnering with TSA, and TSA is working very hard on new technologies to increase the ability to go through a throughput quicker or with less divesting of clothes and things like that, to expedite and make that a less stressful experience. So while it's a challenge, we don't believe that we can't address them. And so I think there's lots of examples of us really trying to figure out, not just the DFW airport, but the entire industry trying to figure out ways to really address the needs of our customers.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's also a great segue into my next question, because I was wondering if you think there are certain pain points that you can't change in the customer journey, with all the touch points that it takes to go from home to getting on a plane. There's a lot of customer pain involved. Is there anything that cannot be changed?
I personally don't believe I always believe there's an opportunity to make things better. While I don't think security is going to go away in the near future or in the foreseeable future, I do think we can do it better. I think we can stay just as safe as we are, or even safer, which is always the goal, and more secure, but at the same time improve the experience. And so I think we're just relentless in our approach to try to address those needs. And I think that it's becoming more and more necessary as the customer really is demanding that. And when you address those needs, it also improves the safety itself. One of the things that I know our TSA team here at DFW has been focused on is courtesy is important and is a great safety feature. Because when you're courteous and you keep people more calm and relaxed, they tend to not get upset and create issues. And so there's just an opportunity to really think about these things a little bit different. And really leverage the opportunities that we have to just make it better. And the other thing that I would say to that is customers are reasonable. So if they understand, if you give them information and help them understand what you're doing and why you're doing it and the purpose behind it, then for the most part, if you execute it well, they're going to be okay with it. So I think that's part of it as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And there are definitely airports I've been to where the TSA checkpoint was less painful than at others. And it all has to do with how, like you said, courtesy can be a safety feature. It all has to do with how the process is conducted. And there are ways to make it more pleasant. That being said, though, you hear all the time about, how airlines delay flights, and sometimes they'll keep their passengers in the dark, like they won't offer them food or hotels or compensation. So does the airport CX team itself stage any interventions when this happens?
So anytime there's a situation that is different than what's supposed to happen. So for example, if there's a bad weather situation and flights are canceled, we do have our employees go out. We have mechanisms to ensure that certain restaurants and convenience locations are open so that people can get access to either food or to something that they may need from like a sundry item or something of that nature. So we do that. We also have the ability for the customers, we go out there and our ACEs will walk the terminal, walk into those locations and try to provide information, assist them where possible, point them in the right direction. Our concessions team has done a wonderful job of offering different kinds of solutions from an amenities perspective to help potentially address those issues. So there are places where you could leverage like a massage, or you could go to a place and actually rest. There are locations within the airport where those opportunities exist. And if it's an overnight situation, we might have a blanket for you, and we also will send, we do have seats throughout the different terminals that you can lay down on a little bit easier than other seats. And so we'll help move people to locations that are a little bit more comfortable.
Oh, okay. So you do actually come and talk to passengers and point them to the right amenities when there is a delay or something like that happens?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And also curious about, because you mentioned, the team is housed in Terminal D, right? And that's really where your hub is located. And from there, a lot of the work that you do is in predicting and monitoring passenger flows. I'm curious, is this done using cameras or heat maps? What sort of technology is involved in that?
It's a great question, and you're referring to the experience hub that we have in Terminal D, and it started as a grassroots effort. We literally had 6 computer screens and a person looking at them, doing those spreadsheets, and then as we began to partner with different groups, different stakeholders like our TSA team, our baggage handling vendors, our maintenance team and our custodial teams, we started expanding and seeing better opportunities. And so we do use information. For example, We know when flights are going to arrive. We know approximately how many people are on those flights, and that kind of information can be very helpful in understanding patterns and when they're going to come off and what that means to impact to a restroom, for example, in that location. We also do have camera technology that assists us with wait time technology, for example, so passenger flow, and those are discrete cameras that do not take any personal information, just lets us know that there are people walking in certain directions and things of that nature. And then, of course, we do have some visuals as well as part of our security protocols that allow us to understand what's going on and be able to send out additional help if we need in certain areas. And then we have a good system of communication across our team members, our employees, to be able to request and deliver needs as they become necessary.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so lots, and we're continuing to look at new technologies to be able to help us. We're about to put in some technology in our restrooms to help monitor the paper towels and different things like that to ensure that we never run out of those. Also, technology to help customers know if a stall is in use or not, as well as some other technologies to ensure that the restrooms can be refreshed quicker.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly important. I wonder if passengers can get in touch with the team directly. Are there any ways for them to do that?
Absolutely. I didn't really talk a lot about it, but we actually do have an app. It's the DFW app, and it has, we are available through phone or email, which you can do directly off of the app. We also have the phone number throughout the terminal as needed, but they can absolutely either call us or email us directly, and we'd be happy to respond.
Awesome. And just for some closing thoughts, what's something you're working on right now that you're particularly excited about, or something that's particularly challenging, or something that you are just looking forward to seeing through and would like our listeners to know about?
Yeah, there's a lot of things I'm excited about. We're working on some ways of reinterpreting the gate area to make it, one, much more delightful for our customers, but also much more useful for them too. One of the challenges that I think a lot of customers have when they're going through an airport is their fear of leaving the gate area because they don't want to miss their flight. And so we're looking at ways to reinterpret the gate area to be much more functional for the customer, so that they can have the information they need when they need it, a little bit more integrated with their own personal cell phone or other technology, to really address that issue of not knowing. And so, the things that you've been on a flight and it's time to board and you can't hear very well what group is being boarded, so everybody runs to the gate. Well, we're trying to solve those with some better ways of communicating so that you know when it's your time and you don't have to rush and feel comfortable and you feel like you have the information you need it when you need it in order to be successful in your journey.
Yeah, those sound like some really cool changes on the horizon. So just last thing, we're really looking forward to hearing you speak at the CCW Executive Exchange in Miami next year. Can you give a sneak peek of what you'll be discussing?
Well, hopefully I'll be able to talk a little bit more about some of the work that we're doing right now that is centered around looking at our analytics from a more emotional perspective. So looking at metrics a little bit differently than just customer satisfaction, which is important, but more getting into some of the emotional and salient pieces of the data that we're receiving. And if we can be able to unlock some potential customer experience improvements based on that. So I'm excited about that. And I talked a little bit about this gate area and what that looks like and how that can really address the needs of our customers and then also create this experience that is much more memorable in a positive way. I'm hoping I can be able to tell that story in a little bit more detail as we go forward.
Cool. Well, that sounds really interesting. Look forward to hearing that. Julio, is there anything else you want to add?
I would say that, it's a really, really important time, I think, in all of industry, with the focus on the customer and experience. And I think that with digital becoming more and more the way people are handling their day-to-day activities, that it's going to be very important for all companies, all businesses, to really think about how to manage the experience, whether it's a service that you provide in real time, but also leveraging what people have become accustomed to through digital means and things like that, and how those things work together to really drive what I think is going to be just fantastic improvements in all industries. So I'm really excited about the future.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that's a great closing thought. Julio, thank you so much for your time today.
My pleasure.